Welcome to the Bag Maker's Workroom. I am Chris with Simply Classic, and today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We go live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, except today. Our episode is pre-recorded because Thursday, October 9th, I'll be in Houston for the Quilt Festival. So hopefully I see a lot of you there. Taylor and I will be there, so make sure you stop by our booth and say hello. It's booth number 1604. My team member Shauna is here in the chat this evening, so if you have any questions during the live, she'll be happy to answer. And then if there's anything she can't answer, I'll cover it on next week's episode. So our theme today is bags with curves, and here's what we have planned. We're going to start by going over what's new in the Simply Classic Scoop. Then I'll show you our pattern of the week, which is the Farfalla, and some perfect pairings for that. We'll also look at some designer bag inspiration. I'll share some tips for stitching gussets and curves. We'll talk about the history of Saber handbags. We'll feature our customers' bags in Artistry Avenue. And then finally, I'll tell you how to enter our giveaway. So before we get started, please take a second to click the thumbs up button below. We believe it or not, it really makes a difference. So we appreciate it when you do. So now it's time for the Simply Classic Scoop, where I tell you what's new here at Simply Classic. And we're pretty short today. Of course, I'm in Houston, booth 1604. But right now, as of the time of filming, we have 2 Banda bag classes still available for our November session, which is the 7th through the 17th. I think there's 2 pink left. So, of course, this is bag for confident beginners who want to work with leather and maybe have never done that. We specifically work with chrome tanned leather. It does not need to be skived, which is what we sell here at Simply Classic. The course is completely online. You're going to get a kit in the mail with the materials you need to make the Banda bag. You'll learn how to use different types of leather glues and stiffeners, because stabilizing a leather bag is a little bit different with leather as opposed to faux leather. You're going to learn how to base, coat, and edge paint, and so much more. So check out the link in the description to learn more, and I am sure Shauna will update you in the chat if it has sold out. So believe it or not, that is the only update we have for you today. Just come see us in Houston if you're there. And it's now time to talk about our new pattern of the week, which is the Farfalla. It's on sale for $12.49 this week, PDF version only. So this here is the Farfalla. The Farfalla is a really unique shaped bag. It's one that we don't see people make very often. And I think it looks like it maybe is a little intimidating at first glance, but it's actually easier than you might think. It's actually only 4 pieces in the outside of the bag. You've got I'm going to go over what they are because it's really, again, not too bad. You've got this front piece here. Here, let me this. Okay, so you've got front piece here. You have a front piece here. So it's 1, 2. The back is 1 large piece. Okay, this whole thing, 3. And then you have a bottom, 4. So it's 4 pieces, 4 main pieces in the body. Really not a difficult bag to make at all. It's a sling bag that converts to a backpack. And I'm going to show you how that works. Basically, you've got a zipper in the straps of the bag. So you can open up that zipper and wear it as a backpack. Or if you prefer to wear it as a sling, you just go ahead and zip that down. Obviously, these straps are adjustable. You move one of these clips to the other side. I need one more hand. Let's see. Here we go. And then you can just make this a little bit longer and wear it as a sling, either on the front of your body or the back of your body, however you'd like to do it. So it's really versatile. One of the things that I really love about this bag, and did this on purpose, we have a nice big pocket here in the back, and it has a zipper on it. And this is really made for a cell phone. We tested many different size cell phones in this to make sure that all cell phones fit, and all the ones we know about do. So we're good on that. And when you wear it, it's against your back. So there's no way anybody can steal your phone. I actually saw this bag in Italy. That's where I got the inspiration for it. And the reason why I named it the Farfalla is because of how it opens and closes. So essentially you just loosen the strap here and you open it up this way. And of course, it's almost like a bucket bag. But this flap here kind of reminds me of a butterfly wing, and farfalla in Italian is butterfly. So that's why it's called farfalla. So we're going to go into the overhead here real quick, and I'm going to show you a couple features of the bag. One of the biggest questions is people don't know how it works, like they don't know how to use it. So the strap, okay, when you actually wear the bag, you see you have a kind of piece of strapping here that the strap goes around. That is what holds the bag closed. Okay, so it actually pulls this front flap over and holds that bag tight, nice and tight and close. So nobody can get into this unless they somehow steal it off your body. Okay, this wooden button or whatever you use as a closure is purely decorative. Theoretically, you could do away with this and not even have any kind of button on that, and it would still stay closed because of the flap here at the top, or the strap. Okay. So if you want to, obviously use a button, you can. I also show you in the pattern how to make one out of leather if you choose to make one instead. To open it up, you just kind of loosen the strap here. It's really a great bag for traveling. And then again, you open this up, and inside you have credit card slots on one side, and then you have a zipper pocket on the other. This zipper pocket is great. It's great for like sunglasses, chapstick, that type of thing. Because it's angled, it doesn't fit a cell phone really well. That's what the back pocket is for. But it does fit, some of those things, reading glasses, sunglasses, again, chapstick, anything like that you want to keep handy without having to go into the bag. Okay, this one is made with our wave geometric in the color tan and then the brown suede. Okay, it's really a pretty combination. So again, the Farfalla is $12.49 this week, and that is for the PDF version only. And we love it. Whenever we take that to shows, it's really popular. Once people see it, they say, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. I want that. So we will be giving 2 Farfalla patterns away at the end. So stick around to enter that giveaway. So now it's time for our perfect pairings. And this is where we match some of our leather and faux leather with lining, thread, and hardware. So if you're ever unsure about what goes together, feel free to reach out via email. And we're always happy to help because we know it's tough shopping online. So our faux leather pairing is kind of akin to our faux leather Farfalla you just saw. And we decided to show you the gray. So this would be our gray waves and our gray suede. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. That would be a great combination. So if you like the brown and tan, you can certainly do that, or you can do the gray. We really loved the Harper Blue by Tilda with this. It does have some gray in it, and it just kind of brings out the lining. We think that would be beautiful. And then, of course, we would use the nickel hardware, and then the dark gray, midnight gray thread comes in 45, text 45, and text 70. So whether you make a Farfalla with this or any other bag, we think that it would really be a fantastic and beautiful combination. So our leather pairing is a little bit different this week. We are going with a fun color. This out of the way. And this is a leather that is called Rich Red. Now, it's red, but it's got a little bit of pink to it as well. It's got like some pink undertones, but I wouldn't call it pink. Okay, it looks like showing up a little magenta on my camera. So, or like what I'm seeing here. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's not really a magenta. It's more of a reddish pink. We think the rosewood chambray Tilda or lining by Tilda would be fantastic. And then we'd also recommend the nickel hardware with this. Ripe raisin would be a perfect color to go with this. It is a little bit darker than the leather, but I always like to go a little darker with my thread color versus lighter. If I don't have an exact match, it just makes it all work out a little bit better. So the Rich Red is 10% off this week, these hides. And also don't forget that the pattern itself is $12.49 $12.49 for the PDF version. So we are going to move on to designer bag inspiration, and this is where we look at luxury bags that fit our theme. Lately, we've also been showing you our faux leather that can give you a similar look, and a lot of people really seem to enjoy that, so we're going to do that again tonight. So our theme is bags with curves, which can mean a lot of different things. Most bags have some kind of curve to them. Even the boxier bags a lot of times aren't perfect rectangles, but we focus on bags tonight where the curves are the distinguishing feature. So here is a Lola barrel bag by Burberry. And the Lola is, very on trend. It's got this barrel shape. I really like this classic quilting on it as well. It's just a little bit of straight line quilting, and it's very, to me, very classy, very appealing. We have a chestnut color that we think would look good. We also have a lighter camel color that we're not mentioning that I think would also look good. Either one of those would be fantastic for this. Here is another barrel bag, and it's a little more unique. You can see that it kind of slouches in the middle, and so it probably doesn't have stabilizer. It's probably not in the center there stabilized quite as much as the last one we looked at. This one is by Ralph Lauren, and we have a textured dark teal that would be a really close match to that. I like the way these handles are put together. They're just kind of sewn around the barrel, like sewn around the bag itself. Now, of course, these are circles. I mean, these sides are curves for sure. It's, definitely curvy. This is a Coach Kiss Lock barrel bag. So how cute is that little pocket? It is a suede, and it's in like a darker pink, and we have a dark pink suede that we think would be a great comparative faux. So in addition to the barrel bag itself, it also has that, what they call a kiss lock there on the front, like those older coin purses or coin pouches that we see. Very cute. I also wanted to share this Dooney and Burt bag because of the gusset. So, curves aren't always circles. Sometimes they're gussets. And this bag obviously has a gusset. So keep in mind that gussets are actually straight, and it's the front and back that is curved. So we'll go over that a little bit more in just a few minutes. But the faux ostrich in the color brown would be a really good one for this. And I like that they used a tan webbing here for the strap instead of, using some of the leather. So this is a red embossed croc bag from Balenciaga. It's actually a vanity bag for cosmetics and toiletries. So it makes sense that that bottom is flat, even though the bag is rounded. We do have a brick red or a brick vinyl in the color dark red that would be comparable. It's a little darker than this Balenciaga bag, but it's very similar. Now, this is kind of a cool bag. It is a crescent bag from Brahmin. And I really love Brahmin. It's one of my favorite brands. I just like the look of their bags. I think they're very classy. It's the Percy crossbody bag. So you see it has a slight curve at the top. And of course, it has a curve in the bottom of the bag as well. It's just the top of the bag is so much wider than the bottom. We have this blended croc in navy black that is very similar to that Percy. Now, at first glance, this bag has a very similar crescent shape to the one we just looked at, but it's actually more of a half circle shape. You can see here when it's straightened out how that top is just totally straight, but depending on where you put your stabilizers, where you put your stiffeners, the bag behaves differently. So in this case, if you had put stiffener all the way up to the zipper, you get more of what you see on the right. If you don't use any stiffener or stabilizer or just put it in the bottom portion, you're going to get the slouch like you see on the left. So it's really more of like a half moon or half circle shape. It's a good way to fake a curve or fake, especially at the top, is to do something like this and use the stabilizers instead of actually cutting the leather or faux leather in a curve shape. So we've seen a million bucket bags, but this is kind of unique. Look at the bottom and how the leather has got like pleats in it. So when you see, the side, you can see those side seams. So that's just two straight pieces of leather or faux leather sewn together, side seams. But then by taking the bottom and pleating it and then putting a round bottom there, it is kind of making it curvy, even though you started out with straight pieces. Now, the reason why you pleat this is because that bottom is so small. So the bottom is drastically smaller than the entire bottom of the bag, which is why you have to pleat it to get all that to fit in and work well. So finally, we have two more bags where curves are more decorative. On the left is a really cool wavy bucket bag from a small company called Prime Cut. And obviously the curves in that bag is the feature of the bag. And then the one on the right is a really cute bag as well. That little pocket on the front mimics the shape of the bag, which I think is really, really kind of cool. So as always, we really hope that these designer inspirations give you some cool ideas to try on your bags, because as you all know, part of sewing is just making it your own, making exactly what you want. So now it's time for Sharpen Your Skills, and this is where we learn tips and tricks to help you become a better bag maker. So a while back, I asked all of you what bag making skill you wanted to improve, and several people said they wanted to get better at stitching around curves, especially with gussets. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. So of course we know that in bag making, the gusset is a strip of fabric. I'm going to take this lacy here because the lacy has a gusset. So the gusset is the strip of fabric that goes here. Okay, so usually it starts here on the side. It goes all the way around to the other side. The gusset is straight. So when you are laying this out, the gusset is just a long straight piece of fabric or leather or faux leather. It's the front and the back that are curved. So you can see right here, these edges are the ones that are curved. So what we're trying to do is to fit a straight long piece of fabric onto a curved piece. And that's when people, I think, struggle a little bit around these curves right here. So another curve to look at is the Farfalla. The Farfalla, even though there's no essentially curves in it, when you look at it straight on, you do have a kind of oval shaped bottom piece that gets stitched onto the main body. So both of these bags, both the lacy and the Farfalla, have curves, and you're having to stitch through multiple layers. And I know that can look a little intimidating. So we're going to talk about how to make that easier. So I'm going to show you a clip from the Farfalla tutorial, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it after it's completed. So we know where our side seams are. I'm going to open this up and mark the front and back. So I'm just going to match the side seams. And you can either use a fabric pen or a notch to indicate where that front and back is. We're going to do the same thing on our bottom piece. So I'm just going to first fold it like a taco. And then switch it like a hot dog. It is not a perfect circle. It's more of an oval. All right, so from here we want to go ahead and clip this on. The longer oval side is the front and back. So throw this handle in here. Hopefully it'll kind of keep out of my way. Now, even before I do that, I'm going to tell you one thing that I found easier is you have to make clips, and you always make clips in your straight edge. So in this case, this is our straight edge. This is our curved edge. So we're going to want to make little snips all along the bottom of this. If you do it, like if you take these two and hold them together, you can kind of do them both at the same time, both sides at the same time. So I'm just going to do that. So essentially I'm cutting through both layers to get my little snips on both sides. So I'm not having to do this twice. Okay. So now I have my little snips all the way around. So now we can go ahead and clip the front and back first, and then I'll clip the rest. Now, if you would like some help in holding this in place, you can staple this bottom on, as long as you do it within the seam allowance, and then just remove your staples. You're going to see that I'm probably going to use my hemostats to help me with it, just to kind of hold it in place. You can use an awl to help you hold it. Whatever method works best for you. Okay, when I actually sew this, I'm going to sew it standing up. So I'm going to take it like this, take this edge out and stitch. And you may even have to kind of smush the bag down a little bit when you do it. That's okay. When you do, it's going to want to pull away. So since this is wanting to slip out, let's go ahead and staple it. That would be a good way to show you how to staple. So I have just a regular stapler here. And all I'm going to do is, within the seam allowance, go ahead and throw some staples along this edge. And the great thing about using staples is that you can remove your clips. So take your time with this. You see I'm not rushing. I'm just making sure these edges are nice and even. All right, look at that. So you can see those staples right in there. So I'm going to be stitching basically between the staples and the stabilizer, and then I'll remove the staples, and they have done their job for me. It makes it much easier when you're doing rounded bottoms. All right, here we go. I'm going to go all the way around, staying off of the stabilizer. And we're almost to the edge, or to the end. So you can see here how that stitching line is right between the staples and the stabilizer. So I'm going to go ahead and get my staple remover and take all these staples out. The exterior of the bag is now complete. I did trim back this seam allowance just a little bit. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that clip. So here's a few reminders and tips about stitching around curves. First thing is choosing the right materials, especially when you're learning. A lot of times thinner, more pliable materials are a little easier to work with and a little bit more forgiving. You want to always keep your stabilizer, your stiffener out of your seam allowances when you're dealing with curves. If you have a lot of puckering when you stitch, your clips might be a little too shallow. Maybe try to clip them just a little bit deeper. And then around the curve itself, you may also have to make your little snips a little deeper. So you never want to snip to your stitch line. Whenever you make your little snips, you always want to make sure you snip them about halfway, but it's always better to snip a little bit, and then if you need to go back and snip more, you can. Okay, you just don't want to snip into your stitch line, because when you do, now you're going to see it here on the front. So start with little snips, and you have to make them deeper, you can, and you can also work your clips so they're a little bit deeper. Another thing that you might want to try is using hemostats. And so we talked about stapling. So you can always staple in your seam allowance if you want to keep those, because what's going to happen is, the fabric's going to try to pull apart, and that's what sometimes makes it difficult. So either use a stapler in your seam allowance, stitch, and then remove the staples, or you can use these hemostats if you prefer. Now, these are medical hemostats. We're going to go to the overhead so I can show you a little bit better what these are. You can get them pretty much from any medical supplier. They're really not that expensive. And what this is nice, what it does is it clicks in. So you can see the little teeth right here. And when you click that, it holds in place. So it holds it here. So what I would typically do is to unclip, just have to kind of push it in and kind of separate the two. And I have a little piece of fabric here. I'll show you. If I'm going around a curve, a lot of times I'll take the fabric that I want to make sure doesn't slip. I'll click that in, and then you can see that fabric is not coming off. It doesn't matter what I do, it is not coming off. So then I don't have to worry about holding these closed anymore. I can just pull that fabric or do whatever I need to maneuver it around the curve so that the two edges stay together. Now, if you are a Bag Making subscription box member, you actually received a pair of these in the last subscription box. So these are examples, some of the goodies we try to provide to you in those boxes. So hopefully that helps with curves. Just like anything else, a lot of it's practice. So practice. The more you do it, the better you'll be. First time I did a gusset, it was awful. I mean, it was like, yeah, really bad. But you do it more and more often, you get better and better. So now it's time for the Thursday thread, and this is where I share a sewing or design story. And today I'd like to shine the spotlight on a handbag designer you might not know about. So there are so many incredible forgotten bag designers whose names aren't top of our mind today, but whose influences still live on. I want to talk about Saber handbags and their founder, Ruth Saltz. So to give credit where credit's due, some of these photos came from a blog called A Vintage Ramble. That blog, she's a vintage handbag reseller who knows a lot about history, and she actually interviewed Ruth's daughter. One fun fact she shared is that Ruth hated it when people called a bag a purse. She believed that a purse should only refer to like a coin purse. And from what I understand, this is a case in a lot of countries. The US seems to be the only one that we call a handbag a purse. So that's interesting because I tend to call my handbags purses. So whatever that might be worth. On the history, in the late 1950s, a man by the name of Sam Saltz started a handbag company called Saber Handbags. It was based in New York. He was married to this woman here, a painter named Ruth Saltz. Sam asked Ruth to help with the showroom design and color palettes because she was a painter. She had an eye for it. But it wasn't long before she actually started designing bags as well. So the Saber name existed already, and Ruth kind of became the creative force behind the brand. So through the 1960s, Ruth Saltz and the Saber label really took off. They didn't just stick to frame bags, which were by far the most popular at that time. They also experimented with different shapes and materials and colors. So they really defined the trends instead of following them. So here's a couple of examples of some of the frame bags that Ruth did. And you can see here she added some embellishments. So kind of gave them a unique look, and they didn't look like everybody else's frame bags that were out there. Ruth used a lot of suede and embossed leather at a time that was not super common. She really loved the look of exotic hides like crocodile and ostrich, so she traveled to Italy to commission custom embossed leather for her bags. One of Ruth's innovations was extending internal zipper pockets all the way around the bottom of the bag and creating a large compartment, where most other designers really just had one main compartment and maybe a little pocket. She also included attached coin purses on a chain. So she really cared about making her bags practical, not just beautiful. One of her signature details was the cougar head hardware that was often used as a pull to open the bag. It's kind of funny that the brand is called Saber, kind of like a saber-toothed tiger, but it was actually a cougar on their bags. So I'm not really sure why that is, but that's interesting fact. Ruth's handbags also tended to have longer straps, which was different from the compact handbags that were popular at that time. She often used long chain straps, which was a huge trend that Chanel popularized around that time. And trend probably really isn't the right word here because actually train straps have been around for about 75 years now. Ruth was also an early adopter of a signature lining fabric with the brand's logo or monogram printed on it. So in the early 1970s, Ruth and Sam Saltz launched the label Ruth Saltz Designs to expand their offerings. By the mid-1970s, Saltz bags were being sold nationally in department stores and boutiques all around the U.S. The brand remained active and visible through the 1980s, but in the late 80s, handbag trends began to change, and at that time, the company closed. Ruth passed away in 2009. She was in her late 80s, and today her bags are not widely known, but they're still quite popular with people who know their handbag history. Even though the brand is no longer active, Ruth's creativity definitely made an impact on American handbag designs. So that's a brief history about Saber handbags and the designer Ruth Saltz. If you know of anybody else that you would like us to maybe look into, any other forgotten designers, just let us know. We'll be happy to do that. So now it's time for Artistry Avenue, and this is where we feature bags made by our customers. This is my favorite segment each week. So we choose 3 bags that were posted in the Simply Classic bag making community on Facebook or that we emailed to share@simplyclassic.net. If we feature your bag, you'll have 30 days to email share@simplyclassic.net, and you can choose a PDF pattern of your choice. So this is open worldwide since it's a digital pattern. So let's take a look at this week's artists. So Kathy made this gorgeous Zara. It was absolutely beautiful. She made it black, and then look at this flap. She used a beautiful teal floral flap. And I really like that teal it's a darker tone and it really blends with the black. Well, I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. When I saw this, I thought, wow, that is so pretty. She did a great job. Brooke made the sienna and a matching tote bag to go with it. She used cork-based faux leather and red faux croc with waterproof canvas as the lining. She added a double slip pocket to the interior, and she also added some round pieces of the croc vinyl as cute little accents on her sienna. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Now talk about circles and talk about stitching and, curves. I mean, that's a great way to add an accent to a bag, especially something like this. You have a pretty basic plain black bag, but by using a different color flap and then adding these accents, it really jazzes it up. It makes it look great. So good job, Brooke. Another thing is, I don't know if this was just a fun thing that she did, but if something happens, you get a spot on your bag, you can do something like this. This is kind of maybe go right into our happy accident episode, where this would be a good way to add something to a cut or a scratch or something on your bag. And Brooke, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that would be a good way to hide it. And always remember that things are better in odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5, whenever you add accents, if you're going to do that, just keep those odd numbers in mind. So Janet made this Simply Classic clutch. Oh my gosh. I just love this. She was inspired by the quilting episode we did a few weeks ago that used this quilting pattern. So Janet replicated it on her embroidery machine, and it turned out perfectly. It is so pretty. So she tried 2 different types of batting to see which worked best. On the back, she did 1 layer of dense batting and 2 layers of foam. And on the front, she used a lighter batting and 1 layer of foam. She ended up preferring that. And I know a lot of you liked this quilting pattern, and I'm really excited someone tried it out. This is fantastic, Janet. This is absolutely gorgeous. Excellent job. So thank you to our featured artists for sharing their amazing makes. You are all so talented, very, very talented. Don't forget to email share@simplyclassic.net within the next 30 days and let us know which PDF pattern you'd like. So usually this is where we do our Q&A and our live giveaway, but since we're pre-recorded, we're going to do 2 giveaways in the comments instead. So 2 people will win the Farfalla PDF pattern. To enter, just leave a comment on the video with your first name and a designer bag that you'd like to see a tutorial for. So you guys are always sending me really great ideas and requests, and I can't do them all, but I do keep a running list, and I always go back to that when I need inspiration. So if there's a bag you'd like to see me recreate, let me know, and I just might get to it someday. But keep in mind that sometimes the bags warrant a pattern. It's not just like this Prada bag was pretty basic and simple. Some of the other free patterns I've done are just rectangles and squares. They're, they're pretty basic. If it's more than that, it's going to warrant a pattern. So sometimes when you email me or send me an idea, it goes into a different pile. It goes into the pattern pile instead of the the hack pile. So it just kind of depends, but keep sending them. I love getting them. And we look at every single one of them that we see, which I think we get them all. And, we print them out, put them in a folder, and I go back to it often. So again, to enter your first name and a bag you'd like to see me recreate. And we will pick 2 winners on next week's live stream. So this is open worldwide because, of course, it is a PDF pattern. So go ahead and leave a comment. Don't leave it in the chat. Make sure you leave it in the comment, because if you leave it in the chat, we don't see it. Okay. And we will check it out next week. So thank you so much for joining for the Bag Makers Workroom. And again, make sure to join us next Thursday, October 16th. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're almost at the holidays. It's crazy. October is kind of the start of the holiday season for me. For whatever reason, I think October 1st, I guess it's the last quarter of the year. And so it's like you think of pumpkins and all kinds of cool stuff. So I hope you are enjoying it. And we will be here for a regular live episode. Our theme next week revolves around colors. So that's always fun. So I hope you join us then. Don't forget to submit your Simply Classic makes by posting them in the Facebook group or emailing share@simplyclassic.net. Please remember to click the thumbs up button on your way out. And until next time, everybody, happy sewing.